Hi, it's TJ here. I wanted to do a bit of a story time, and this is going to be the worst job interview I've ever had. Now, a little bit of context here. I'd taken a bit of an unemployment gap. Part of the reason was health issues. I've had my wisdom teeth taken out, and it was the most bizarre thing ever because I started having problems with my liver. So having all sorts of blood checks done, they couldn't quite work out why I had lymph nodes swelling up. Really weird, but at the same time, I was preparing for a certification, and that was the OSCP, which I think is the Offensive Security Certified Professional. And let me tell you now, it's probably one of the hardest certs you can ever do. It's crazy how hard it is. But anyway, digressing, I had taken probably about 7 months off of work, so I had a big gap in my CV. And I decided to approach a recruitment agency, one that had found me a job before. I knew the lady and she did a really good job for me. So I was going around applying for this job and obviously had to kind of bolster up my CV, explain what I'd done during this 7-month gap. In fact, I might even do a separate video on that, like how you want to cover if you've taken that amount of time off work, how you can go about applying for jobs again and just, keeping relevant in the market. So what happened? The recruiter, she found me a job and it sounded pretty good. It was network support. Now, I'd done a lot of networking before and it was a really, really good strong point of mine. In fact, I've done like cabling, switch management, setting up routers. I'd just been on my CCNA training and I've been doing this offensive security training, which, like I said, it was just like networking extremely. You had to be really good at it. So I thought, brilliant. Network support role, brilliant. It was going to be second stroke third line. And I thought, having worked as a system administrator, doing all the networking, I thought, brilliant. This is like the perfect match. Long story short, this is my first interview in 7 months. In fact, probably wasn't even 7 months because I hadn't done an interview for probably about 2.5 years before that. So this is like, I'm a bit rusty. And this was back in the day when I was really quite like shy and nervous as well. I mean, I'll be honest about it. You hear all these people, I go into the interview, and I lay down the law and I'm going to tell them I want, 100 grand on the table. Truth is, someone's actually, getting really nervous about interviews. And, no exception there. I was more so nervous. And I'd heard a lot about this company. They were I think it was a gold or platinum Microsoft partner. They offered support for a lot of companies near London, both in London and outside. And I thought, brilliant, it's only down the road. So it's probably a 25 minute commute. I knew the area because where I used to work, they had an office around there. So I knew the route. Covering myself, I went on Google Maps to work out where it was. And probably when you hear about these stories about red flags and everyone says, this red flag should be, you run away. I didn't listen to any of those. So my first red flag was it looked like a house. And I thought, okay, this seems a bit off. This is someone's house. So before the interview, there was a phone interview with the managing director, and he was a technical chap. And we spoke on the phone, and again, my networking experience, because I'd done all this stuff, apparently I was told the feedback was really good by the recruiter. They were really impressed that someone was able to come in and just answer every single question they had. So I thought, brilliant, this sounds really good. They sound really nice on the phone. And I thought, let's move it forward. So he said, okay, let's do a face-to-face in a couple of days. So again, obviously, I looked up on Google Maps. When I actually turned up there, I thought, brilliant, this is the road. It's on the right. So turn my indicator on. And I go to this big office complex. And I thought, okay, it looks a bit different to the house I'd seen. So I go in there, speak to the receptionist, say, hi, I'm looking for so-and-so managed service provider. And yeah, lo and behold, the lady goes, never heard of them. And I'm starting to panic here because obviously the golden rule, you probably hear it. And I hear this a lot from American engineers, very much like ex-military. They say, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. So I turned up like 30 minutes in advance. And I thought, brilliant, I've got plenty of time here. I might just wait in the car, go over my CV, just make sure I'm prepped. Turn up, and even the poor receptionist there was with me, going on Google Maps, going, I can't find his business. I don't know where they are. And literally just across the street was another turning, but I don't know if his street name had changed or something. You couldn't see the building. And that's the big thing. You look on Google Maps, there must have been some sort of hedge or recent building work. And I obviously mentioned as an interview tip is just have a look at the bottom of Google Maps where it says when the photo was taken. Because I think if this was like 2017, the picture could have been way back when in like 2030 or something. Something had obviously changed in between. So you mentioned about red flag number 1. It was someone's house. So I turn up there and I see there's probably about 10, 15 cars in what looks like a gravel kind of car park thing and a house in the background. So I thought, okay, this seems like some sort of MSP here. There's obviously cars, there's vehicles, there's people here. And I ring the doorbell. And at this point here, I must stress, I'm probably about 5 minutes early now because I spent the last 25 minutes trying to find this place, Google Maps, speaking to the receptionist. We both couldn't work out where it was. So I ring the doorbell and a lady answers the door. And I'm thinking, why are you looking a bit confused? Well, that was my reaction because I went in there. All I could see on the left is the front door opened up into a kitchen. And I'm stood there going like, what the, I'm there going, hold on here, I'm looking for an office, a managed service provider. And I've literally opened up the door. A lady has opened it and there's a kitchen. So I'm like, am I in the right place? She says, yeah, just turn right. It's the office. And she was, well, right, you walked through the kitchen and on the right was their office. So again, this is probably red flag number 2. If the front door opens and you walk into a kitchen of a, registered managed service provider, maybe alarm bells should be going here, like, is this going to be a great organization or not? So I was left waiting for a few minutes, and I have a little pet peeve here. I've been for a few interviews, and the good ones, they've always said, look, we're expecting a visitor, Mr. Addams is going to turn up, and, we need to get him a visitor pass. We're expecting him. He'll be turning up at this time. And you know what? For those companies, especially if you do that as well and you're looking for candidates, massive thumbs up for you. I mean, I've got another story about where I travelled, nearly 3 hours since like 5 o'clock in the morning to get somewhere. And they hadn't even thought about when I mentioned to them that I will be driving to even book a parking space for me. And, it's still things like that just really make, the candidate, it shows that you care. So obviously, I'm there and they're busy. I'm stood. And what effectively now is, I don't know how you describe it, it's like a hybrid of a call centre and an open desk plan thing with engineers working away and taking phone calls and stuff. So as you can imagine, it's a bit awkward now. I'm just stood there in a suit with my little briefcase going, okay, I'm waiting for an interview now with 2 people I've never met. I've just come through a kitchen. I couldn't find the office. I'm worried I'm late. Turns out it was all right. So panic goes away. I meet the managing director. Again, he is a really nice person. And I'm ushered into a room. Now, I don't know if you've ever done one of these before, even heard of a term. It's called a psychometric test. Now, I'd never heard of one of these before, and I just thought it was a load of, BS. What do you want me to do? Prove, is it like an IQ test? What's me telling you what circle on a pattern? How's that going to help you? I've heard of people having to do what they call Myers-Briggs test, and I'm kind of a big fan of those. I think they're really cool. But a psychometric test, I was like, what the hell's that? And I had to do some general maths and English thing. I thought, look, if I'm coming here for second, third line, why do you want to check my maths and English? You've spoken to me on the phone. Maybe give me some tasks and, we'll go through it. I'm showing you general proficiency with my certifications, but would expect a level of English that would be required. This interview is already starting to go downhill. What happens is I'm in there and then the technical director comes in. So there's like a managing director who's in charge of it all and his friend. They're both co-founders. But one dealt with the business, so the managing director, he's the good guy, we like him. And then we have the technical director, and I honestly don't know what pissed off this guy. I mean, there's a bit more towards the end, but I'll just get this all out, because like I said, this is the worst interview I've ever had. I think it was just disgraceful. So I'm given a technical assignment. Now, bear in mind, my background is networking, sysadmin, mostly Windows and a bit of Linux. But again, a really, really strong networking background. So they come up to me and say, here's your technical challenge. So there's 2 sheets of paper and 10 pages. And they contain a list of files. So the technical challenge was to work out which files weren't included in the backup. Now, at this point here, I kind of raised a flag and said, well, look, I'm a network engineer. You're bringing me in for a network role. Am I expected to do backups as well? And they're like, no, it's nothing to do with it. So I said, so why am I being tested? And again, this is probably kind of red flag number 3. Why am I doing this? But secondly, if a shy, introverted person like me at the time, that was at the time, now it's a completely different story. I'd handle it differently. But if I'm starting to get a bit like, hold on here, if someone unusual, but anxious going, hold on here, why am I doing this? It's starting to raise red flags. Like, no, just do it. Like, okay. So I mentioned there, and this is probably why it caused a bit of trouble, is both of them were in there. And I think I had a good rapport with the managing director. And this is why I think I caused a bit of trouble, because I turned around and said, well, I'd use a script to work this out. And said, in fact, I've written a script before to go through 2 lists of files and work out what's missing. And he said, no, we do it on paper. So I turned around to him and said, would you do this on paper? I mean, would you go through 10 pages? Technical guy goes, yeah, we would. We'd expect you to do it. And there's like red flag number 4 or 5, whatever we're at now. I'm just probably keeping count of these. I'm going, so you'd expect me to go through 10 pages each and try and work out which ones are missing. And generally, there were questions about, what sort of backup dates and how you do it. And I think I did really bad. If you said to me, presented me that and said, what would you do? And I told you, a script and what would you use? Is it Windows or Linux? How do you want to go about it? A bash script? Different story. I think that's how I would handle it. Not turn around to a candidate and go, right, you need to work out between these pages what ones are missing. So fast forward, they come back in. They want to now go through the technical assessment. And again, it's starting to cause a bit of tension here, because I think the managing director was like, this guy's really good. He's really good at networking. But apparently I've just atrociously trashed this technical side, this quiz. So I start asking some questions to the technical guy, and he just won't answer. Oh, it's all wrong. I'm going, what's wrong? Quite nicely in my defense, the managing director went through and said, so what has he done wrong? Can you explain to him? Because that's an important step. If I failed, can you tell me why? And he wouldn't. He just kept saying, well, this is wrong. And I said, okay, but how would you do it? I would do this. It's like, well, that's wrong. Feedback like that. So I think obviously that now caused a bit of tension. You've got one person going, well, I think this guy's really good at networking. Yeah, he's messed this up. But even he said, why would you do it? And I think there's also the other thing of him going, but he won't explain to him why he's gone wrong. And at the same time, I'm listening outside and there's a guy trying to fix a networking issue for a client. And I kind of say to the technical guy, I said, look, what the guy needs to do is X, Y, Z. I think he was using a wrong subnet or something. I can't remember at the time. There was something quite obviously wrong. And I said to the guy, look, this is what you need to do to fix it. And I think even the managing director who was there at the time was going, yeah, that sounds good. And the technical guy kind of had to acknowledge that, yeah, that's right. And said, look, that's what I'm coming to do, mate. I want to do that. Not going through 20 sheets of paper to work out which backup file is missing and what date and how. So long story short, that goes through and, it's pretty dire. And I think the managing director kind of had to say, I don't think you're going to get the role. So I thought, I knew it, took it on the chin and thought, brilliant. I'll go and leave now. A bit ashamed, a bit like I've just shown myself up. I've wasted like 2 hours of my time here. I've had a rude experience with someone who just won't explain anything to me, being really quite cold and quite rude as well. He wouldn't answer any questions, wouldn't tell me much about it. And you kind of got this really nice guy on the other hand. It's like good cop, bad cop. So you think it can't get any worse, right? I stood there, you kind of got them wafting around. Someone had double parked me. They'd parked their car in front of mine. And it's one of the engineers. Now I thought, okay, I'm in a building. No one knows where I am or who I am. How do I get out? I want to be out of here. I want to spend a minute longer. Oh, well, don't worry. That engineer's gone somewhere. He'll be back in 15 minutes. So I'm stood there now for 15 minutes with my little briefcase, kind of halfway between the door and the kitchen waiting for this guy. Oh, I'll just be a few minutes. I said, mate, look, I've got to go. I need to be out of here. And they're kind of reluctant. Oh, well, I guess I'll move my car. Do you want to move it? I said, I'm not sure for your car. Move it. It's company property. If I reverse it to someone else's, I'm in trouble. And lo and behold, finally about 15, 20 minutes later, he moves the car and I left at quite not considerable speed. I'd be careful about the police are watching this, but I left and I was really gutted. I was just like, look, I've come in there, super passionate engineer, trying to get back into the industry again, and went, crap, I've tanked this interview. It's the worst interview I've ever had. So I get a call later from the recruiter and she says to me, look, I'm really sorry, but I just don't think they're going to offer you the role. And I said, no, I knew it to be expected, but I want to give you a bit of feedback from a candidate point of view. She said, sure, tell me. And I said, I just had to deal with the rudest guy I've ever dealt with professionally. If I was looking to do business with you, I wouldn't use you because I said, this guy is so rude. So the managing director, lovely guy, took the time to explain stuff about the business, really nice. The other guy, on the other hand, so rude, wouldn't explain anything to me, left me very much a cold shoulder. She told me, that's very interesting, Mr. Addams. She said, we've sent a lot of candidates there before, about 20-something, 25 candidates or something. And she said, what we do as part of our company here is we mark people as like how extroverted they are and how well they can deal with people. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's more or less what they do, like what the people skills were like. And she said, look, we've put you as number 5. So we said you're confident, you're comfortable, you can do this, we're not worried about you being upset. But she said, we'd send people like a 1 or 2. We've had quite a few complaints now about people crying. And that, again, was like red flag. I know it was 6, 7, 8, probably all the way up to number 10 now. Of going, I'm a recruiter and I'm hearing people are crying, they're forcibly crying because of just the rude treatment. I don't know what it is, but, if even I'm going like, I'm really pissed off with this guy and, I'm hearing others now crying. Feedback on that is like after candidate number 1, even max 2, I'd start questioning, going, why are candidates crying mid-interview? And what are you doing to them to make them cry? And she said, it's quite interesting because, we often go out for lunch with the managing director. I said, no, nothing wrong with him. Brilliant guy, I think he's really nice. It's the technical guy is the problem. I said, yeah, we've had so many complaints about it. I don't know what happened. I heard there may have been some sort of like mini boycott or something, or some sort of investigation. But again, I have to say, look, from a business point of view, even a recruitment agency, if you've got candidates going there who are crying because they're just not even socially adaptive, but just maybe slightly more on the introverted side, or they're just not confident in that sort of interview situation, that they're failing, they're crying as well. That it screams to me like, oh my God, I would just stay clear and wouldn't want to go near them. So I don't know what happened. I haven't even bothered checking out where they are because kind of a blessing in disguise. He's given me a fantastic story. It told me all the red flags to look for. So again, I'll say it again. If you ever go anywhere and it's in like someone's house, you probably do not want to be working there. Again, I've probably not checked it, and probably knowing my luck, for 2 people will probably find this video and probably give you a nice transcription about how bad I was as a candidate, and I just don't care because I've gone better. And the best thing that happened from this is after that experience, the recruiter, I don't know if she's still recruiting, as I say, find her details or ask her, would you like to come on, help people find roles. But what she did do is she did find me probably what was one of my favorite jobs in the world. I had the most fun. It's the best job I've ever met. Fantastic engineers, learned so much. So I'm grateful for that. This really awful experience turned out to be really positive because 1, it's given me a fantastic story. 2, it's helped me learn exactly what I want to avoid. And 3, it helped me find like a really awesome job afterwards. So that's a bit of story time from me, about the worst job I've ever had, and a couple of red flags to watch out for. It even happens to the best of us. So just keep an eye out. If you want to hear more crazy stories like this, just let me know. I'd love to hear it in the comments. And remember, every YouTuber says, like, share, and subscribe. Helps me, and I will keep bringing out more content for you. That wraps up this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.